Welcome to More Than Golf. This is Jonathan Knowles. It's great to have you with me in Season 1, Episode 4. In this episode, my great friend Randall Hunt shares the process of what he did to become a top-ranked junior golfer and a top collegiate golfer. In addition, Randall talks about how he works with elite junior golfers and PGA Tour players to reach the apex of their performance. Athletic Apex founder and Bionetics creator, I would like for you to meet my great friend Randall.
How are you doing? My name is Randall Hunt, and I am the founder and owner, CEO of Athletic Apex. We are a bioperformance company that is geared to helping athletes and people reach the apex, the highest point of their athletic abilities. We have several different lines. We have a golf-netic line that has won on every major tour on the world, the LPGA Tour, the Nationwide Tour, the Champions Tour, and the PGA Tour. And we are dedicated to helping people of all ages get the most out of their bodies. My personal background in golf, I'm a Class A PGA professional. I actually got my Class A with Jonathan Knowles. Very good friend of mine, very great instructor who I strongly recommend to any junior or amateur or professional golfer that wants to get better. I've competed around the world professionally. I played in Africa, I played in Italy, I've played all over the States. I also played my collegiate golf at Pepperdine University. We were Division I national champions. I got a full ride at Pepperdine University, and I was one of the top-rated junior recruits in the United States of America back in the late 90s.
Where did you play university golf, and what factors did you consider?
I think I talked about. I chose Pepperdine University. It was very close to my house. The reasons why I chose it was a small Christian school. I grew up in a small Christian high school. It's beautiful. It's right on the water. But probably the biggest factor was at the time they were the best golf institution in the world for collegiate golf. So that's the reason why I picked Pepperdine University.
When did you begin your college recruiting process?
I began my recruiting process in the 8th grade. My mom did a phenomenal job. She was a little ahead of her time, but she did a really good job in whenever I did something that was good. So I began kind of playing competitive golf really 7th, 8th grade. So in my 8th grade, whenever I would go and I'd win a tournament or I'd have a good tournament, she would shoot a note to the colleges that I was interested in. At the time, I was interested in going to Stanford, UCLA, Pepperdine, USC, the University of Southern California, and UCLA. I was born and raised in Southern California, and I wanted to stay in Southern California. So my parents, every time I did something good, the coaches knew about it. They heard my name, Randall Hunt. Randall Hunt won this tournament. Randall Hunt just finished 3rd. Randall Hunt just did this. And they would just shoot it. And definitely, anytime I was in the press or press clippings, they would be sent to my list of college coaches. So they got to know me. They got to know me at a very early age and watch my progression. One of the things that I would strongly recommend doing, and my mom did a phenomenal job with, was I would win a golf tournament or I'd play well in a high school event, and she would actually call the paper and report it, which you can do. You can call the paper and say, hey, this is so-and-so, and it's up to them where they want to put it in or not. More than likely they will, because most papers are looking for articles to put into the paper to have something to talk about. But we didn't have the reporters come to us. We went to them. I went out and I won, let's say I won state, or I won the California championship, or I won a small tournament. We would call our local newspaper because that's press. And getting those clippings and getting an accumulation of those clippings are going to work on your behalf long term. So when you're going to a college coach and you've got 3 years, you got 4 years, you got 5 years of college clippings collected, other players aren't going to have that. Other players aren't doing their research and their due diligence like that. So especially for your junior golfers that know that you want to go and play college golf at an early age, early being, elementary school, early being junior high, you got to start documenting what you're doing. You got to start documenting your success. You got to capture it. You going out and winning a tournament is great, but it's you capturing the tournament that you won is a whole different experience in terms of how you get looked at and how you get recruited. And I had full ride offers from all of the universities that I was looking at, but they all knew me. They knew my name. They knew I was coming up. They had an idea what kind of person I was. I went up, and, you know, I had college visits. I had unofficial visits with the different campuses to get a feel for them. I was looking at going to Stanford University. That was my number one early on. I went to Stanford Golf Camp. I got to know the golf coach, Wally Goodwin, at the time. He got to know me. So when the time came for me to go to college, we had already formed that relationship. So I don't think you can form those relationships early enough. You know, you don't need to every single day be sending the guy an email, but every single time you do something that's worth mentioning, and worth mentioning is a top 10, anything that you feel is significant and showing your progress, you know, it's gonna be important. And one thing that I would do, and I would talk to Jonathan before you do this, is, you know, if your swing is good and technically sound, I would recommend sending your swing to the coach. You know, because if you got a good move through the ball, the coaches are going to like that. One of the things that the coaches really look for in the recruiting process, and I talk to my coach about this a lot, is how a junior golfer handles himself on the golf course. Because when you're playing junior golf, you're young, and you're still developing, you're still growing, and a good college coach is going to be able to help you and develop your game. But what a college coach really looks for in terms of let's say that everything's equal in a player. Let's say they both drive it good, they both putt it well, they both chip it well, score, they might be in the same ballpark, is how they handle their emotions when things go wrong. That's crucial for college golf. No college coach wants a player who comes apart. There's players that are going to, we all play bad, and we all have our times where we go the other way. But if you're mentally staying in the fight, if you're mentally hanging in there, a college coach cherishes that. Why? Because you're at a tournament and you're playing bad. You know, bad could be is a relative word. Let's say that you're a couple over par from where you want to be, wherever that is in your personal game. And if mentally you're throwing clubs, you're upset, you're cussing, you're walking with your head down, your body language is bad, you're pouting, you're letting your team down. You got 5 other guys out there that are busting their chops to try to put together on the board. You know, you're letting them down. You're letting your coach down, and he has to know that. He wants to see a player that can be 5 over par, 6 over par, but they're fighting to not go to 7 and doing everything he can to get back to 3 or 4 to help the team in the ultimate score. They can teach you they can teach you short game. They can teach you driving, but really the mental part, the character of the human being, and something that every single college coach takes very seriously.
How were you recognized as a junior golfer?
I was recognized as a junior player. I was one of the top 5 nationally ranked juniors in the nation. I received a full ride to Pepperdine University. I had a blast. I had an amazing time both in college golf. I had an amazing time in junior golf. I really enjoyed the camaraderie that you get from college golf. College golf is really a unique situation. Unlike junior golf and unlike professional golf, it's really the only time in your life where you're able to have a team component to golf. I know that golf's going to be in the Olympics here in, I think, 2016, so that'll be something new. There's like a Ryder Cup. But really, for everyone to grow and develop, you're all in the same boat together. Ultimately, in college golf, all of you guys are wanting to play well for each other. You want to play well for your team. But you learn a lot about leadership. You learn a lot about responsibility. You're pulling each other up, and also it's just fun to have people to practice with that are like-minded. It's fun to have people that want to practice hard. It's fun to have people that want to do the right things with diet and exercise. You're all in the same boat together. So when you're getting up early in college golf and you might be going through a 6 a.m. workout, you got 5 other guys, 6 other guys, 8 other guys right there with you that are feeling the same pain that you are. So you definitely grow. But not only mention, there's a lot of free golf you get to play in college. We went to a lot of top-notch courses. The equipment was free. Our clothing was free. But we got to play a lot. We got to practice for free. It's really a monumental time for, especially if you're ever considering playing professional golf or at a professional level. The instruction, the equipment, the balls, the courses, the ability to practice, it's free. So you're paying your dues, but you're paying your dues with tuition, or whether you may be on scholarship, or whether you may be however you're paying for college. But at the end of the day, the golf part of it is included. So it's definitely work, especially about the junior golfer, the investment for parents, the investment you're making now into your child. It could turn into a college scholarship. And there's tons of scholarships that are going untapped here in the United States. Yes, I played Division I, which was the highest possible division, but there's also Division II, there's also Division III. And there's tons of schools out here in North Carolina and South Carolina, all in South, from all over the country, D3, D2 schools that don't really get a lot of good players because a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people aren't thinking about it. You don't have to be an all-star, banger coming out the gates, junior player to go to college for free. I had a lot of friends of mine on my high school golf team. I had 2 guys on my high school golf team that shot in the 40s for 9 holes, low 40s, high 30s for 9 holes, which isn't very low. I was on a completely different standard. I was, shooting in the 60s when I was, 16, 17 years old. These guys were shooting 75 to 80, but they both got full rides going to a D2 and a D3 school. So I'm going to talk a little bit later about how to properly approach colleges. But keep in mind that college golf is something that I feel that is for just about every golfer, every serious junior golfer. Being able to have your college paid for is something that's very realistic and something that's very obtainable.
If you could pass along anything about the process, what would it be?
If I could pass anything along to a junior golfer up and coming right now about the process and about college golf, I would say that, you can't start soon enough. And what I mean by you can't start soon enough by working on the big 3 components, by finding a good solid instructor. I would recommend, especially for those out there in Europe, getting a chance to work with an instructor like Jonathan Knowles would be huge, especially at an early age. And the reason why I say that is Jonathan is more than an instructor. Yes, Jonathan understands techniques well. He worked under Hank Haney, who coached Tiger for a number of years. But Jonathan is a committed coach. He pays attention to the mental. He pays attention to the physical. He knows about the mental. He knows about the physical. So it's pretty unique, especially, whether you're in Europe, whether you're here in the States. Jonathan's kind of one of the first hybrids of instructor that's being developed, an instructor that understands the 3 components, the mental, the physical, and the technical. Getting involved with someone like that as early as possible and as much as you can is going to be significant. Another thing that's going to be important for you to do is documenting what you're doing. Like I mentioned earlier, documenting your success and working hard at it, because college golf was one of the best times of my life. Even looking back now, I have a great life. I've traveled the world. I've done a lot, but I look back and the friendships that I've made. Some of my best and closest friends are my college teammates. Some of the people that I've kept in contact with over the years, and some of my deepest relationships are my college teammates, because it truly is one of the most amazing experiences you'll get a chance to ever have in your life.
How did you balance your classroom responsibilities and a competitive golf schedule?
Balancing school and competitive golf is pretty easy to do. Simple rule: handle your homework first. If you take care of school first, you have all the time in the world after to practice. If you're practicing, your mind's going to be elsewhere. It frees up your mind to be able to dedicate all your time to be able to practice properly. I know that Tiger has done this personally. It was kind of a rule in his house. He never went to go hit golf balls until he finished his work first. But also, too, you really want to go out and practice. You really want to go work on your game. So mentally, you're going to tackle your homework and get it done. So as long as you keep that principle in mind and don't break it and abide by those principles, you're going to do well with balancing competitive golf and your schoolwork.
How do you prepare for tournaments?
The first question here is, I'll just say, one of the biggest things that a person can do to play well and to compete at a high level is how they prepare for tournaments. And to understand how you need to properly prepare for a tournament is something that's very, very unique to the individual. And what I mean by that is you need to know what your weaknesses are. And how you're able to know what your weaknesses are is by practicing and playing. So when you get out in competition, to know, okay, if you're keeping your stats, how many fairways have I hit? How many greens have I hit? How many putts am I making? You're going to be able to quantitatively understand where you're weak. So in preparing for a tournament, there's no really point in practicing what you're really strong at and what your best strengths are. You want to know, you want to really get as many weaknesses in your game out. So let's say I'm a great driver of the golf ball and I hit it straight, I hit it straight. There's no point in me going to the range and hitting balls for 4 hours, all I'm doing is hitting drivers going, I'm straight. What you need to focus on is my putting. Putting is just so vague. You can't say my putting's bad. How is my putting bad? Am I bad from putts within 3 to 6 feet? Am my lag putting bad? Am my left to right's bad? Am my right to left's bad? The more that you can identify your specific weaknesses, the better that you'll be able to prepare and for competitive golf and play at a high level. The technology that I use to prepare, and a lot of technology that I see a lot of people on the PGA Tour use to prepare, is a TrackMan. The TrackMan, and I also use a video camera and the VH1 software to be able to draw lines and look at different angles. TrackMan is very valuable in terms of understanding your ball speed, your ball flight, kind of understanding your ball shot pattern. For example, I know they have a setting on there where you can hit a bunch of wedges on a TrackMan machine and see where your cluster is. So you can have, you can look at the PGA Tour and see what the average proximity to the hole is from 150 yards. You can get on the TrackMan and hit 50 shots of your own and see how you compare and contrast. You can do the same thing with how, collegiate golfers do it as well. But if I was a junior golfer, the stats that I would be looking at the most are the PGA Tour stats. You may not be able to get right where they are on all of them, but that's what I would aspire to get my numbers to. I want to get my numbers to as close to driving accuracy, as close to proximity to the hole, from 150 yards, 100 yards, 120 yards, 200 yards to the PGA Tour, because at the end of the day, that's the gold standard. That's where the best players in the world are doing.
How do you distribute your practice time?
How I distribute my practice time and how we have our clients distribute their practice time, or I'll say the best way to distribute your practice time is to have 50 to 60% of your practice time dedicated to an area where you're weak. So there's a lot of different skills tests that you can do when you practice. I saw a lot of clients on the PGA Tour prepare this way, where how they allocate their time is they'll look at their stat sheets on the PGA Tour and see how many greens they're hitting. They'll see their proximity to the hole from 120 yards. There's a huge list of what they can look at stats-wise. And how they allocate their time is by practicing the things that are the weakest most. And you obviously don't want to, in your practice time, you don't want to just say, okay, I'm a great driver, I'm not going to practice driving at all. I'm not saying that's important to have that be some part of your program. But your highest percentage of where you're practicing, whether it be bunker play, short game, pitching, chipping, putting, iron play, whatever is the weakest part in your game deserves the most amount of time per practice.
What are the most important skills you have learned in your experience?
One of the most important skills that I've learned in life and in golf is our perception of what's happening to us, having a positive outlook, looking for the positive in every situation. If I go out and shot 80, after the round, you're going to be bummed. But you want to say, you know what, I really drove the ball well today. You want to make no matter what you shoot, whether it's good or bad, you want to focus on one good thing. You focus on the good things. You obviously do not want to ignore what went bad, because that's how you're going to get better, is by understanding what went wrong and why it went wrong. But you also want to make sure that you have an outlook, and the same thing goes for life too. Things happen in life, things don't go the way that you want in life, but you want to learn from those things. You want to find the positive. Everything has a positive and everything has a negative. I mean, I shot 59 in Montana, and I was after the round, I had to catch myself. I shot 59 and I missed 2 putts. So I'm thinking about the short putt I missed on 17. I'm thinking about a short putt I missed on 6 where I could have shot 57. I had to check myself because I was like, Randall, you just shot 59. You just broke the course record by 6 shots. I did the same thing when I broke the course record at Colonial Country Club, which was 61. I missed 2 short putts coming in. I missed 2 15-footers coming down the stretch. And I'm sitting there and I had to remind myself, think about all the positives that went on. So no matter how good it gets, it can always be better. No matter how bad it gets, it can always be worse. It's how we perceive those things and understand those things will determine our success moving forward and our ultimate happiness in life. Everything that happens to us happens for a reason. It's us. God has planted us. Some great resources to be able to analyze and to be able to think. That's what separates human beings from other animals. Is we can actually, critically think. We can use cognitive skills to be able to digest our situations and learn from them and become better.
In summary, what is your recommendation for a junior golfer who has the desire to play collegiate golf?
In summary, if you're a young junior golfer that's looking to play at a high level, if you're looking to play at a high level on the junior circuit, if you're looking to play a high level at college, the number one thing that you can do is to find a good support system. You want to get in good with a coach. If you have access to a coach, like Jonathan Knowles, I would strongly recommend doing that yesterday, as soon as possible, and really working on those three components of the mental, of the physical, and the technical as soon as you can. You also want to capture, and you also want to start putting yourself out there in front of these college coaches. And if you're looking to go to school in the States, you need to be looking at that now. What part of the United States do I want to go to? Do I want to go to Texas? Do I want to go to the East Coast? Do I want to go to the West Coast? Start looking at those schools. And relative to where your game is right now, whether you're if you're doing really well in junior golf, you might be considering a D1 school. If you're kind of in the middle, you might be looking at a D2. And if you really need development, you can be looking at a D3 school. I mean, there's plenty of colleges out here in the States that are looking to give scholarships to players, but you gotta put yourself out there. And the way that you're going to do that is by contacting these schools at an early age. Trying to think what else here. But yeah, in summary, just don't forget to work on your weaknesses. How you perceive what happens to you is going to determine your outcome ultimately. So being able to try to be able to progress and define what your weaknesses are, being able to analyze them, being able to find the positives in what you're doing and not lose sight of that is going to ultimately help you grow and develop to become a top-notch junior, collegiate, and professional player.
Thank you, Randall, for your knowledge and your time.
Thank you.
How can listeners get in contact with you?
To find out more information about what we do, you can reach us at www.athleticapex.com. You can email us at info@athleticapex.com. We are based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have 3 locations. We have one in Dallas, 1 and 2 in Fort Worth, one here in downtown Dallas, and the other at Colonial Country Club, where they play the Colonial Championship on the PGA Tour.
Thank you for listening. Please check back soon for the next episode.